Hi there.
Hi.
You look keen.
Yeah, well,
What are we talking about today?
Let's get this started.
Yeah.
I was thinking a question we both get asked a lot is how did we end up in Australia? It's
Mm.
obvious we're not Australians. We don't have the right accent. And we get asked so often, how did you end up being here? A country that's very far away from most other countries. What's the journey?
No, that's a great question. It's a great story. But first, before we
Yeah.
talk about how that all happened, you need to know how to spell our beautiful homeland. And you're the English teacher.
A-U-S.
No.
Oh, the real way.
The real way.
S-T-R-A-Y-A. Straya.
Straya, mate. Anyway, yeah. So we came in 2002 from a Bruderhof community in Pennsylvania.
Yep.
To Australia. So the short answer is we came to Australia because our community needed us here. We were trying at the time to grow this community and build it up. Danthonia, where we live, was only begun in 1999.
Yep.
So when we got here, we made it, I believe, 50 people
yeah,
with our
yep.
two bubs.
Yeah.
But yeah, the journey down here, that was...
Yeah, it was amazing.
It was unforgettable. I'm not sure we want to relive it, but we could for a little bit.
We arrived on the back of the millennial drought. So Australia, this is generalization, but Australia has a sort of a bad dry period every 10 years, and we arrived on the back of that.
At least once every 10 years.
Yeah, and it was really confronting to fly over a country, and our community is quite far inland, to fly over this country that was on fire in parts.
Long before we saw that, though, we had to get from New York to LA.
Yeah, that's right.
To get on
Yeah.
a Qantas flight to come down to Sydney.
Yeah.
And when you're flying cattle class and you have two infants, that's challenging enough, just getting from New York across the great United States. And then everything got snarled when we hit LA.
Hit LA, yep. And we were just about to board the airplane when a minimum 6-hour delay was announced. And it was 11 p.m. at the time. And
Local.
Yeah, local. Yep.
Which meant that it was whatever,
we were
2 a.m. New York time.
We were dead. And I expected, my heart sank. I had these two little kids. Our oldest was 2, our second son was 10 weeks, so really tiny. And I expected a lot of confusion and fury from the Australians that were trying to get on board. But within seconds...
If you'd be more comfortable saying Australians.
Australians, yeah.
Now you can do it, but whatever works.
Yeah. Where was I?
Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, I expected everyone to get really upset, and instead, the dads just sort of started making organized little benches around. And
we rearranged the furniture.
Yeah, and
then we went to the bar.
Yeah, then we went to the bar. The mums and the bubs, we all sat there. We were on a first name basis within 5 minutes, looking after each other, getting food for each other. The fathers were, taking the kids away. And I said to Chris privately, if this is what Australia is like, we're going to be fine. And immediately there was that warmth and flexibility.
That's your memory.
Yeah.
My memory of that is like a 65-year-old, well-meaning elderly gentleman reaching down to take the screaming baby from my arms with the line, "Would you mind if I nursed your child?" And I'm like looking at him and going, how precisely do you plan to do this?
Yeah, and this well-meaning mum next to me said, don't worry, it means
to have a cuddle.
To have a cuddle,
so terminology, we got a first lesson in that.
But then you went to the bar and had a very confronting thing.
Yeah, so my memory of that time while you were, holding the fort literally with the kids was being at the bar and a bloke next to me saying, "Where are you going?" And I told him, "Inverell." And he kind of went quiet, and a couple guys sitting either side got a little quiet too, and then he's like, "Mate, let me buy you a drink. You're going to need it."
Yeah.
And that's when it started to hit me that, we were leaving behind everything that we knew and loved for something brand new and very different. Then we had that experience. Well, first we got to Sydney, and we had a whole day to kill at the airport.
At the airport, and that was...
and that was before they knew how to make coffee in this country.
Yeah, instant coffee was
the
go.
Oh my gosh, $4 for a cup of instant coffee. Can you imagine?
You rescued me with that bowl of Thai noodles and white wine.
Yeah.
I had my first taste of an Australian Chardonnay, Shardy as we call it now, but I was like, okay, I'm in.
And they have figured out the coffee since, thank goodness.
Yes, but I did cry. I took a sip of that wine, and that the steam of the noodles was rising, and I just lost it.
if you need a moment, we can take a moment.
But it was, I don't know what we were expecting, you know, just were we switching New York for New York or something, but that is, I always say it's one of the adventures of our church,
Sure.
is that we don't know where we're going to be needed.
Well, and we've promised to
And
go where
we've
we're
promised
needed.
to go,
so,
and I think it's just a very exciting part.
you know, and then so then after that day in Sydney, it was like 3 in the afternoon. We finally caught a flight up to Tamworth, which, and by Australian standards, is a reasonable sized inland city. I think Tamworth has what I want to say like 35,000 people, something like that. I'm probably wrong, but
it was 20 then,
it's less than
30 now,
50,000.
something. Yeah.
Anyway, it's the equestrian capital of Australia. It's where a lot of rodeos and stuff happen. So country music festivals, and I should say rodeos.
Yeah.
So we get on this little plane. We fly. Was it like a 12-seater or something?
Yeah,
we fly up to Tamworth, and then we literally got on a mail plane. That's how it felt.
Yep.
We had to take our suitcases and put them in the plane with us to balance the load.
Yep.
And the girl who was flying like assigned us each to our seats to make sure
it would balance.
And then we took off, and I've always said it was like flying over a UNICEF calendar, but that's not very charitable.
It was
the
dams were dry, the ponds were dry, the waterways were dry. We saw some dead cattle. It was completely brown. We saw fires along along the different ridges of forest. And it was really sobering. We thought, well, when we get to Inverell, it'll be better, but it wasn't. And we landed.
So we circled around because the pilot had to actually physically check the runway to make sure there weren't any kangaroos directly on it. There were, but fortunately on the other side of the fence.
There's
no tower, nothing there.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful airstrip, but there's nothing there. So we land there, and I guess what I do remember from that, though, is meeting brothers and sisters from our community who were completely thrilled to see us, and
it was amazing.
Took the boys into their arms, and just from the start, we were just loved into this place. And that's ultimately when I think of the journey, you know, that we were sent from a community that loved us dearly. We left many close friends and loved ones behind, but then we're welcomed by brothers and sisters on the other side of the world, quite literally.
And our neighbors were a wonderful elderly couple called Dawn and Marilyn Noble, and I'll never forget how they just made us feel right at home from the minute we got here. We woke up in the morning to it was November, so just going into springtime and Advent here, and the jacaranda tree, which is a tree that makes beautiful purple flowers, that was blooming. There was pink and white oleander blooming. There were huge butterflies bumping at the window as we woke, parrots calling. And there was Dawn in the pool outside our house with a coffee, and he had a coffee waiting for us, and said, "Come on in, this is how I start every morning."
You remember that because you're a morning person?
What do you remember?
I have similar memories of the hospitality and warmth from that dear couple, but what I remember is the evenings with Dawn. Just ending the day in the pool with these massive magpies warbling away over us, and a glass of chilled white wine. And
that was Dawn.
Thinking, okay, this too shall pass. We'll get through this, and we will put down roots, and we will make a home among the gum trees. we've been doing it ever since.
And I think one of the lessons for us, and we keep coming back to it. We've come back to it many times. Is and I know this is a bit of a faith-based lesson, but often we are asked to do things in our life journey that we never thought we could do or wanted to do, and there's always a blessing on it. There's always been an amazing blessing when we step into the unknown and just give it our best.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah, it is.
So we wish you a lot of courage and resolve to give it your best in your lives this week too. We'll do the same here to the best of our abilities.
Talk soon.
Bye.
Bye.